And we are live.
Yo, what's up,
Woo!
everybody?
What's
First of
up?
all, welcome back to B.I.G. We got Jordan in the pool, Console with Hoodie, Mizzy is by the pool, believe it or not, Otto with the gains, and Sir Sapien ready to drop some hot takes. Today, we're going to be discussing a lot of what's happening, I think, in the last week, really, token rebounds and quarter four predictions. I really quickly want to share my screen and showcase three tokens that I pulled out just to see how things are going. But before that, how's everybody doing? How do I saw
Oh,
that you beat someone on like Super Smash Bros. And won an Iron Forge like membership? That's fucking dope.
yeah, yeah. I challenged Miskiff. It was a bad challenge on his part. But yeah, they actually put up video on the YouTube page, and they didn't put that part in. So, um, but they put the first part in. So I was in the video. I was in the video several times too. So that was pretty cool. But I was gonna mention you were gonna bring up a chart. I'm also bringing up a chart.
Bring it up.
So right now.
Yeah, do it.
Oh shit. Okay. Shit.
Here
Thought
we
I had
go.
more time to
XRP
prepare.
shield coming
XRP
in.
shit right now.
You
XRP
know where this is
show.
going. You know where this is going. So,
You already know.
as
This
you
is
guys
not.
can
This
see,
space is not sponsored by XRP. His views do not reflect my own. Blah 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 blah.
as you guys can
If
see,
anything,
XRP had a monstrosity of a move. I think like 35% up here, and then it's come back down about 8 or 9. So yeah,
Gary
this
canceled the meeting on you guys, right?
no, did he? What?
I
What
thought
meeting?
I thought that's what happened. I thought there was going to be some closed door meeting, and then they were like, "Nah."
Oh, I mean, either way, like they're fucked. Like, and there's a lot of people that are now attacking the SEC. So I'm not really worried about that anymore. Like, SEC is kind of fucked. Like, they're not in a good place right now. But yeah, the movement looks really good, and there's like a rumor going on of settlement. So that's probably why it's been moving. But
Can I ask you a
yeah,
question? As a big
go ahead.
XRP person,
Sure.
then what?
What do
Ooh.
you mean?
I mean, okay, so you guys settle. XRP has basically been stagnant while the competition has innovated and innovated and innovated and innovated for years.
Not
Why?
true.
Why
Not
XRP?
true. The
Not
price has
true.
been stagnant. Yes, the price has been stagnant, but not the development. No, the development has been going on for years.
Okay.
They've been adding features to the ledger for the past 3 or 4 years. Like they added NFT functionality, they added AMM, they've added a cross-chain bridge, they've added EVM
You're just
compatibility.
describing basic blockchain functionality.
Well, this is stuff that they've added. So you're saying they haven't done
Okay, you're right.
anything?
You're
They
right. You're
have.
right. You're right.
So I'm addressing what you said.
I'm just waiting to see. I want to see them like compete in the current market.
They are. They're the sixth largest digital asset in
Well,
the
sure.
crypto ranking. What do you mean?
I mean, if you're trying to be a project that has deep utility for partners to adopt, and use.
Okay. What? Well,
I'm
they do have
skeptical.
partners. They have banking partners. They have like law firms.
I
They do have
honestly also I
partners.
don't. You know a million times more about XRP than I do. So
Yeah. You're
yo, what's
picking
up,
my brain.
Graslow?
It's all good. It's all good.
Yo
I'm just
yo, what's
letting you
up,
know.
Grasslow?
Yeah. Anyways, that's my market look.
All
That's
right.
it.
Let me go ahead and share some more gaming related tokens here. Although
He asked. He
XRP,
fucking asked.
All the people who normally come and watch this, they saw the XRP chart and they were like, "Ah, fuck this. I'm
nah,
going
I'm
elsewhere."
out.
Bye. See you later.
We've seen probably like the thing that I've seen and been following the most is just Pirate Nations, right? Pirate Nations has launched their game.
Oh, hold
However
on.
you want to
Sorry.
think about their game,
Got you.
fully on chain and essentially looking to scale. People trying to get into the Pirate Nation game are having to wait 30 minutes to 2 hours to play the game. Absolutely crazy. You saw here like their initial launch shot up to around where it's at today, I think even higher now. And then obviously we saw that decrease and now just absolutely ripping up. I mean, again, I'm not someone who necessarily always focuses on token prices, but like we've seen this across the board for a variety of different tokens. Here's Ronin, obviously here, same thing here. Like the past month, shitty. Now we're starting to rebound. What does that mean? I don't know. This chart also here looks kind of nasty. And then finally, we saw Ancient 8 launch yesterday. And so Ancient 8 is launching at what? I think it was like a 200 mil fully diluted and 30 mil market cap. which is pretty good for what Ancient 8 is. You know, started off as a guild with scholars in Axie Infinity, and now essentially just moving on to being a publisher. Like, I'm curious if anybody has any thoughts on these 3 tokens. Mainly, like, Pirate and Ancient 8 are the ones that I'm focusing in on. I'm like figuring out like what's happening. Ancient 8 again is a roll-up that is, I believe, hosted on Arbitrum. And so in terms of tech, there's nothing that differentiates them outside of the games that they're publishing. I've seen a couple of Discord games, Twitter games, like this trend of social games, right? So it's been really interesting to see what's happening here.
I mean, it just sounds like they got a community that is, I don't know. I've seen them as like a community and a network, and they've been putting out content and stuff. So to see them put out a token is interesting. I don't know what the use for it is, but I would imagine it would have something to do with something with the social side of the Ancient 8 group. Definitely
Yeah,
like with
actually,
like the users or something.
yeah. Let me firstly just apologize. Literally, when I'm not pink, it's my network having issues. You gotta love it. And I also want to congratulate Ancient 8 for this release. We've seen a couple of projects somewhat hold back from releasing their token because it's a bear market or the sentiment is low, but they saw the traction and they said, you know what, let's do this. You're right, JRP, that they started off as a guild and they're just continuously scaling. I think their focus, when I spoke to Justin, he was in our Discord, I suppose, 2 weeks back. Their focus is going to be on IP play and more so AI in gaming. So that's going to be really interesting to see. But definitely, I think the whole go-to-market strategy is the fact that they really have Vietnam locked down. I think that's going to be the market they focus on, 1,000%.
I got a question for you. The AI gaming, is it like AI arena type of gaming where you're training like your AI, or is it just like they're making games that an AI will just run through and you just partake in whatever happens? Like, what does that mean? Because AI gaming to me means that like the player isn't playing the game, it's the AI playing the game. But there is some element of like in AI arena, for instance, you're training the AI. So I'm just asking.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's a good
in my
question.
game, you're playing through an AI, but you're making all the decisions at all times. The AI is mostly to allow the game to be in real time without you having to spend your whole life playing it. Right? So it's like, I mean, there's a million ways that games are going to use AI that we can't like slot into a specific type right now because it's like insanely new technology.
Well, I was asking like what Ancient 8 would be focusing on.
I have no, right? No
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah.
They're really focused on bringing in people inside of their own ecosystem, like essentially like building up these IPs to then make them valuable, to then make their chain valuable, right? The console star,
No, I mean, I definitely don't know. I'm not the spokesman. In the same light, it can also be tossed out that, you know, everybody's using AI as a buzzword. And I'm not really sure which direction they're going to take it with this, but that is at least the identity they want for their blockchain. And that sounded really unique because some of this ecosystem, some of this ZK rollups, they're just trying to target everything. But when I had that discussion with Justin, he was particular that, we're going for IP and story plays, and we're also going for that sweet spot where AI and gaming comes together. But what that means, I can tell you for free, I do not know. Yeah. And I'm also not sure if they do fully, right? They'll figure it out.
JRP, I have one more chart if you want to.
Real quick. What's up, BB?
What's up, BB?
I thought AI was just something you put in your picture. Same Grasslow.
Yeah.
I mean, we know that's.
I mean, that's how you can get funding. Yeah.
No, I don't actually have any AI in Eureka. We're actually just hiring a lot of people to sit there and play the game for you. And we're going to put out a token that'll pay them, and it'll all work.
Shout out Bonesy. Good seeing you here.
Bonesy.
Yeah, man. On the Ancient 8 stuff, I think it was like our first or second episode where, our first or second episode with like the new squad, where JRP had a topic where it was like, who's the next biggest publishers? And at the time I said guilds, right? Yeah. So I'm very interested in seeing how Ancient 8 works with it because honestly, that's still the ecosystem I'm most bullish on. Guilds being the biggest publishers in this space.
Yeah.
And seeing, and congratulations to them on their token launch. They had balls when many others didn't, and that's always very important in this market. And I would love to learn more about the token utility. Like, is a token getting value by being a play to earn token inside of the games that they're publishing, or is it more of is it something where it's almost like all their actions that are being taken in, it's like a governance thing? I need to do more research on where the token actually derives value, but very interesting. Probably one of the more unique token launches we've had in a while. So pretty cool.
And really quickly to add on to that, like they were listed by Coinbase. Like pretty major console.
Yeah. Huge.
Yeah, I don't know the process for that in the back end. It means the people behind the project are super fucking connected, is what it means.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I mean, there's
also
some
means. Yeah, my apologies.
Go
my network
ahead.
is messed.
No, go ahead.
No, please jump in.
I was just gonna say, when it comes to like Coinbase, we're talking about Coinbase, right? When it comes to like letting them in, yeah. So when it comes to Coinbase, they do have like a lot of they have a very strong legal team. They did fight the SEC and kind of win, partially win, mostly win, and they do have like a good head on their shoulders when it comes to evaluating these things. They did like set up their own like little tier list of like, is this risk for security lawsuit or not? And they use that process to vet all of the coins they take or that they put on Coinbase, and then whatever doesn't go to Coinbase goes to Coinbase wallet, and they create a Coinbase wallet. So they do have like a good like overview of the tokens and stuff when it comes to like launching them. So to get listed on Coinbase is pretty huge, especially because they're listed on the stock exchange. So
yeah,
they're
for
a very
sure.
trusted company.
And Coinbase is essentially based where we all think liquidity is, the US. So that's interesting. But I just wanted to raise a point to Mizzy. What you've said has me utterly intrigued. You said guilds as publishers, and I would maybe argue that maybe I'm not part of their team at all. And I love Ancient 8, but I would think maybe they're pivoting away from that whole guild ecosystem. Maybe it's not profitable or scalable. We saw them release a questing platform. Now they have a token and they want to be an ecosystem. What are your thoughts on this concerning your statement, publishers and guilds
I think
coming together? Because that's interesting.
I think in general, when you're running any kind of guild, like Catalyst in its own way is a guild, just not the way that guilds in Web3 currently have worked, right? We're a content guild,
Put this down.
essentially, content org. I think you always get to a point where you're looking for more or you're saying what's next, right? And in a place in Web3 where its current need is player liquidity, it makes a lot of sense for a guild to just turn around and say, okay, we'll become a publisher, or we'll do something to bring player liquidity to partners that need players, right? So logically, in my mind, guilds have way more access to players than blockchains do, right? So who has the leg up there? A blockchain or a guild, right? For example, everyone loves to talk about Ronin and Axie and how they have all the player liquidity. I could argue that the guilds within Ronin and Axie have all the player liquidity, not Ronin and Axie, right? Like, what would happen if YGG were to just decide to release their own publisher? Like, that would be a really big blow to an ecosystem like Ronin, right? If YGG just decided to say, fuck it, we're going to focus on we're going to launch our own chain. We're going to focus on our games. We're going to become a publisher. It wouldn't take away all of Axie's player base, but now you have them being spread into a second ecosystem. That has to hurt, right? So for me, just looking at things from a very, very simple perspective, POV kind of thing, if you have all the players right now, you're a really good fit to be a publisher in this space because everyone needs that. And guilds make a lot of sense for that.
I want to add that in the last couple of weeks, one of the things that I've seen is more and more chains, especially those that are homogenous, will be publishers, right? Like they can't compete from the technological level, so they have to compete on the tokenomics level. One of the ones that I've been looking into recently is called B3 Fund. B3 Fund is an L2 on base who is going to be rewarding developers with their token via like a deploy to gain, like deploy to earn. And so this deploy to earn will allow them to essentially bring in game developer liquidity, give them grants based off how much transactions they're going to be producing, and then the rest of it, 30% of it, I don't know what it is, but like will go to the actual players in the ecosystem. So like we're now starting to find new models within publishing that are going to be interesting, mixed in with obviously that like I think everyone's doing it, like ZK EVM is kind of like their technology as well. And so it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. I don't think I've seen a lot of people talk about them, but they're going to launch on August 3rd with Base. So, you know, there's a lot.
I love that plan. I love what you're talking about. I've been like talking a lot recently about the need for Web3 publishers, and that there's like this massive opportunity to figure out, you know, totally new ways of funding that publishers can use using DeFi mechanics, basically. And that it could be like really, really powerful and outcompete what's up, Cardi? It could be really powerful and outcompete existing publishers because like they're not able to just change their fucking corporate structure all of a sudden to integrate, you know, 30% tokens to developers and holders. Like they just can't do any of that shit. You know what I mean? So, you know, I think it's really key. So anyway, whoever they are that you just said, I want to check them out more.
Go for it, Mizzy.
Real quick, I wanted to shout out some of the people in the chat. You know, shout out to Luke. Nice seeing you, man. I'm having issues here. There we go. Luke, what's up, Luke? Good seeing you in here. You know, Grasso liquidity is in China. We just don't know how to speak or write Mandarin. Yeah, man. You know, I've been brushing up on my Mandarin.
And Korea and Japan.
That's pretty much on Grasso.
Grasso blockchains can bring the speculators, Guild can bring the players. Yeah, you know, I would say that blockchains do bring speculators. I feel like guilds can also bring, you know, speculators a bit, because a lot of people do end up asking you when you're running a community or guild, like, what are the best tokens to ape into? Like, if you want to incentivize that culture within your guild, I would never personally do it, but I think it's like very possible for many guilds in our space to do it. Yeah, you know, Moonlit Games, shout out to you guys. Thanks for all the support. You know, guild for real, actual players instead of pumping
actual
dumpers.
Players instead of pumping dumpers? It's the wrong industry.
And then back to Biz's comment, their massive user distribution platform. I believe this is in regard to H&8. Their user base are diehard believers. Their network is freaking deep. I believe this was always part of their roadmap. Their go-to-market was pretty impressive. They weren't product first, then tied an ecosystem. Yeah, I think a lot of people in this space really sleep on the power of just building a community first and then tying in product into that.
Yeah, it's
so much easier to do that, in my opinion, than building the product first and then trying to match it to a community or find a way. You know, the term we love to use is we're trying to create problems rather than solve problems.
Yeah.
When you build community first and then build a product, you're solving a product. You're creating a product that solves your community's immediate need, essentially. So
you also just like, you know, your audience size. It's so powerful from the start. Like I'm finally moving towards next month selling something for the first time, and it's first going to be this whole gold nugget giveaway thing and then money, but like I can fully calibrate this just based off of the people that I know that are just like constantly pumped about Eureka, right? And that's like really, really, really useful for me to be sure that I'm going to do a good job of this, you know, major next step.
Yeah, if you look at games,
alpha.
If you look at games that listen to the community, they always perform better and do better and last a lot longer. We can look at a game like Farlight 84 that didn't listen to their community and their player base is shrinking every month. And so, to add to your point, Jordan, as long as you listen to the community, whatever the product is, it's going to be enhanced by your community because you understand what they want and what they need. Kind of like
right. I mean, I'm literally like, I have changed my plans for like something, a surprise that we have coming out in next month is entirely because of what I've learned from my community, from spending hours of every day of my whole freaking life talking to every single person who comments and giving them a gold nugget. It is just like been transformational in what we're doing and how we're doing it. And that wouldn't have been possible if I didn't, if I didn't have this community already. Like,
Love that.
There's only one order.
And Biz, while everyone was thinking, I think he meant to say, while everyone was thinking, what the hell are they doing? Those aren't going to make money. Who thought social platform was revenue generator? I personally thought they were late to the party. I'll tell you, and I'm sure you know yourself, right? When you lead a project with community, everyone's always asking you what the fuck you're doing. It's the nature of the beast. Everyone wants to know what you're thinking. Most often than not, any idea you present gets shit on, which for me is actually kind of like the bullish indicator. Depending on who I'm talking to. Like, sorry if you hear the splash in the background. That's my wife jumping into the pool. But, more often than not, you get shit on a little bit, and I get excited by that because it means it doesn't make sense to them because they're not in the nucleus or the community that we're building. So.
Yo, let me actually share a recent time that I've gotten shit on that I found really, really useful. Wait, did I just turn my mic off? You guys good?
No, you're good.
So I'm really excited because I'm building, I'm excited about my game, but a thing about it is that it's going to be the first actually photorealistic video game. And I've been, excitedly, I just showed off this new gameplay, showing it to this whole Web3, bubble, and everyone's been super pumped about it. And I posted it on Reddit talking about that, and got tons of comments being like, first, a bunch of dumb comments being like, what do you mean, Death Stranding was photorealistic back then, or Myst was and I'm like, that's not the kind of photorealistic I'm talking about. But basically, they were shitting on it because all they heard was someone rolling into gaming being like, hey, here's what matters. I've made a game photorealistic, fuck everything else. And hearing that, as a gamer, that would be my exact reaction. Why do you even care about photorealism in a game, right? It's not the priority. It's not the focus. It seems like a part of a bad trend. So, by putting my messaging out there to a different group of people and getting shit on by them, I remembered that, there's a difference between the group of people that I've been leading on this kind of narrative journey for a year and a half now, and have a lot of kind of, inbuilt knowledge about Eureka, and this is a next new piece of information, versus what I need to do if I'm leading with it for somebody for the first time, and that needs to be totally different. So anyway, you get shit on constantly. You learn way more than people just telling you that you're doing good.
I'm gonna give pushback to the photorealistic gaming because I saw a video yesterday of this police chase video game, and it was just the perspective, and that looked photorealistic to me, and I want to try that. And there's also a body cam game that
but that body cam game sucked as far as I heard, but it looked cool. I saw it and I was like,
it
damn,
looks
I want to
interesting
try this.
though. Yeah.
No, I mean, look, if I thought it was stupid, I wouldn't be doing it, right? But I hear what they're saying.
Yeah, hear him out.
All right, real quick, Luke. In regards to leading with community, sometimes the community thinks they want something, but they might not be that deep into the economy, and they sometimes have a frog perspective. But generally agree on community involvement.
What does that mean?
For those of you that don't know what frog perspective means, it means you want to see, green candles. Shrek go up.
I was low to the ground.
So no frog perspective. It was a really big term in 2021, 2022. That's at least my take on frog perspective. I don't know if he means it in a different way, but all I know about frogs and crypto is usually they want to see green charts. But I agree in this perspective of you can't go with everything the community says, right? But that is essentially it's your job to curate the feedback and understand what you think is best for the project based on what you're hearing. And sometimes you don't even need the feedback. You can just see organically where the community is going, right? What does the community, what is a natural progression of what we're building, and where does everything just click and make sense? I think that's more when I build with community, that's kind of how I do it more than just taking every single person's feedback. For me, it's more or less let me monitor the room, let me read the room, see what's going on, and then what product just makes perfect sense here with the momentum we already have.
Right. There's a huge difference between listening to the community and making the thing that they're asking for. Right? Because if you listen to the community, you're the product designer, right? And people tend to not know what they want, right? Like the Steve Jobs may be the best product designer in history, and his whole thing was always like they never did focus groups. They never tested any of it. He's like, people don't know what they want. That's not how you design the next big thing. You show them what they want, and then they see it and they go, damn, I want that. And so, yeah, no, you don't want to like follow your community, but you want as much info as you possibly can get from them.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he probably was like when he designed the iPod, you know, he saw his daughter walking around with a Walkman. He sees all these people walking around with a Walkman. He's just like, I mean, we're already making the best computers, right? So we might as well just make the best version of this.
Right. He was like,
that is,
you could have way more songs right in your pocket. Can we build that? And he was like, oh, shit, we can build that. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. So he already saw the demand from the community there, and he kind of just met it. Yeah.
But nobody asked him for it.
Yep.
Exactly.
And
all right,
I think very, very similar in Web3 because no one really knows what they want from Web3. No one really knows what it's supposed to look like. So the people that come up with the most innovative and best experiences content, they're going to win. And I think we're seeing that today. It might not have to be like the best looking. In Jordan's case, it's absolutely going to be the best looking. It just has to be the most fun, right?
Can I throw out one more token?
Dude, bring it.
What do you got for us?
Is it a gaming token?
Yeah, it's a gaming token.
He's like, it's XRP again. But let me tell you.
Not exactly, but we're talking about community and we're talking about understanding your audience. And Mumu has been dropping some fucking banger memes. They dropped like some Batman v Superman shit. They dropped some Goku shit. I think the picture of the Joker has been there as well. And I just see like meme tokens whenever like they're, you know, capturing like a community, they seem to go up. And this is what's going on with this one. Also, they got shout out by like some dude with 2.2 million followers. So I think that has something to do with it as well. But
that might help.
Yeah, that probabh helps a lot.
If anyone in the audience has 2.2 million followers, I'll give you a gold nugget if you shout out Eureka. Just throw that out there.
Yeah, I mean, Mumu has been, you know, on a rampage, just like other tokens have been. I mean, honestly, the market's been moving up, like interestingly enough, for the past few days.
It's almost like we're in a bull run.
Yeah, it's almost like a
It's almost like it's been a bull market this whole time.
The whole time. I bet you that if Mumu released a product, their token would cut in half.
Way down.
Like that's the funny thing, right? This is all kind of just speculation. This is the game, right? Where everybody else is trying to like create more content that is more sustainable. Is Mumu going to last forever? I don't think so, but like it definitely can make money now. It's at 83 million. That's pretty wild.
Yeah. I think like before the tweet, it was already trending upward. After the tweet, bunch of money flew in, and I just see them putting out like a bunch of memes and stuff, like pictures. But now they're doing like full on animations, and I'm wondering like where does it stop? Because the animations was always a thing from the beginning for this token, but like they've been upping it, and I don't know exactly like who's doing it or like if it's a team of people doing it or if it's just fan generated, but it's coming out like regularly now. Like every day they're putting out something pretty decent. So, and it's like a whole battle between the Bears and the Bulls, and like the Bears always like the defeated opponent. Like in the Batman v Superman, whenever Superman was hit with kryptonite and Batman was messing him up, and he was like, "I'm a human" or whatever. They show like a Giga Chad thing of Batman like beating up Superman, and it's like this community thing that they've been doing. So I don't know. I like what's coming out of Mumu, like video wise. It's very relatable to me. So just throwing this one out there.
All right.
Not financial.
All right, so let's get back to the other gaming token. Meme coin corner with Hado has commenced. No, I'm kidding.
Well, Mizzy, real quick, a question for you. Do you think that these meme coins could turn into like partners for games? Because like they're different communities, but like they're kind of similar.
I would say that you do find a lot of casual gamers in meme coin communities, you know, from just random conversations I would have a lot with them in Telegram. A lot of Fortnite, a lot of Xbox players, a lot of that. But all these guys care about is profit. Like the meme community is ruthless, man. Like it's a completely different monster, right? They're used to their dopamine receptors are fried Like they're used to making money. They're used to making $1,000 in a day. The idea for them to play like 9 heroes and potentially only make like a few $100 on an airdrop for like hours of gameplay, they're never gonna subscribe to that. Like they're too far gone. They're gamblers from the perspective of like, how do I make $10,000 in 2 weeks? That's like every meme coin degen's like mindset.
Well, my question is more so: do you think that the products themselves are going to try and like pivot towards gaming, like partnerships?
I would say the best collaboration I could see between a meme community and a gaming community is meme coin degens always want narrative, right? When you're trying to find a way to show your token, you're always looking for a narrative as a meme coin community member. So I think something that could bring a lot of utility to both sides is Web3 games tend to lack a lot of like Twitter hype, narrative building a lot of the times, and even liquidity at times, where meme coins, that's all they have, right? So if a game started to collaborate with meme coin communities and found ways for their tokens to actually be used inside of the ecosystem, it would get more liquidity, because then the meme coin investors start looking at the gaming token and they're like, maybe I'll throw some bags in here because they're partnered with my favorite token. So I really see the collaboration begins and ends with how much utility are you willing to give a meme coin in your ecosystem, and then they'll start becoming shillers for your token. But it's not really, in my opinion, it's not really going to bring you gamers. What it will bring you is narrative, Twitter hype, and liquidity.
Yeah, I don't think it'd bring gamers at all.
Yeah.
I think as soon as you introduce utility to a meme coin, it's dead. Like that's not the
thing is like it can never be your own utility, but it could be third party utility, because I've seen it happen a good amount of times with like partnerships where people are like, we can now use, for example, SHIB really started to pump when all of a sudden we could use SHIB as payments for a bunch of different things. The token had utility that wasn't driven by the dev team.
That is like an interesting middle ground. Because I tend to be on the other side of it, where like I feel like meme coins are kind of like the most perfect product in crypto in a way, because they're absolutely nothing other than the one thing that they are. It's like perfect product market fit. But yeah, like your shit coin being used by other people, then you're not like. There's just always a problem when you're making value more tangible, right? Like I'll never be burned again after the Safe Moon wallet. Those were the days. Ben was there with me.
Damn.
But
wild time.
This is something that
never
like,
came back.
Is this like super relevant though to what we all do, because games with tokens and NFTs are like constantly fighting this exact thing, right? An NFT has the highest possible valuation if its value is purely speculative, right? I mean, this isn't a fact, but this is very much my opinion. I think that, if Yuga never did a fucking thing after Bored Apes came out, those things would be sitting at a much higher floor right now, because they were cool, and they replaced cool with an ecosystem of utility, and I don't know why the hell you'd ever do that.
Ape chain, let's go.
Yeah, okay. It's like I feel like I said this a while ago, but it's the same thing that Disney did with Star Wars. Like Disney bought a cult and turned it into an IP. One of those things is infinitely more valuable than the other. And it was like, honestly, one of the most catastrophic mistakes I've seen a large company make in my lifetime. And
Disney.
Yeah, right? Which is lame, because we all grew up at a time where we were like, fuck yeah, Disney. But an NFT, like games feel a lot of pressure to say, okay, you're going to buy this NFT, and here's the 15 ways that it's going to connect into our ecosystem, and be attached to every possible cent we ever make. You're going to get a little piece of, right? Like that's kind of what they're trying to say. But the second you do that, then it's like, okay, what's a realistic revenue for them? How many of these NFTs are? What percentage are we getting? Here's the value, the end. And anything over that is literally overvalued. Versus if they're just like, hey, here's some NFTs, and just treat it like a meme coin, that's like the opposite end of the spectrum. So like, at least with what I'm doing, like I'm trying to find that exact middle ground where it's, and my whole game's an open economy, so it's kind of a cheat for that. But like, it's easy. It's not easy, but like, I can have something where here's the utility, here's where the value's coming from, but it's on you and the community to find, you know, how much that value actually is, and it's still highly speculative.
Yo, I gotta say, poolside fucking Jordan is an aura, bro. This is an aura right here. This dude is based spitting facts. It's
Dude,
an
I'm
aura.
just distracting more and
What
more
I-
with my environment so that the things I say sound smarter. It's all a plan.
I would
Guys,
I
we
would
can't see
say
what your eyes look like right now. That's that aura
Yeah.
right there.
I would say I feel that Yuga lost. Yeah, they became utility based, but they also lost a lot of things that made them cool. Where like they had all these cool riddles and puzzles that you had to solve to do things within their ecosystem. That in itself was a bigger game than anything they're doing now, right?
Yeah.
They just
But, like-
don't do any of that stuff anymore.
But like, think
Yeah,
of
by the way-
Chanel was like, okay, our bags now like attached to these 8 different things in our ecosystem. Like, it doesn't really. How does that work? Like, they were like Yuga is cool cred, right? Like they were a status symbol.
Yeah.
That's the most. Nothing has a higher possible valuation than that.
Nope.
True.
Hot take, like they just released their ape chain. I think that if they can revitalize their Web3 community of holders that they still have, which we can think of as the highest liquidity consumers of a Web3 gamer, like theoretically can be, outside of like punks, they can make a great Web3 ecosystem. But to achieve that, they have to do so many things correctly, like on the spot. It's just going to be very, very difficult.
Well, and it's stuff that they haven't in any way demonstrated an ability to do well.
Did they
Right?
make
Like-
Other Side, or is that someone else?
Yeah, that was them.
That was
Yeah,
them.
imagine if that was a passion project. It wasn't, but imagine if it was. Where would we be today? Like, it would be in a much better place. Like the whole entire ecosystem, you'd have people that built this off of passion. But it just seems like they just didn't know what to do next. And he's like,
It's
let's
just-
make a game.
It's just not the same thing for there to be like a real nightclub in like a penthouse in Miami that you can flash a Bored Ape at and get in, and there's, you know, $10,000 bottle service or whatever, isn't the same thing as that in a metaverse world. Like, it's just not as, it's not cool. Like, it's like eventually maybe, but like people.
Nah, Jordan got a point, man. There's nothing like skipping the line at a club and
Yeah, like,
flexing
and it
on
doesn't
everybody in
matter
that
if you
bitch.
make-
Yeah.
And I saw that Other Side trailer. I was like, yeah, this is like a cool looking metaverse. But like, there's no alignment between the people who had the, you know, the bases and people who want to go replicate that behavior in this like metaverse. Like, it's just not the same thing
Yeah.
at all. Like,
I mean, having status anywhere is important. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, and you know, in some like eventual Ready Player One future, it'll be equivalently cool, but we're not there yet.
No, I'm saying like in real life, like the real life example that Minzy brought.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
skipping the line of roller coaster is cool as fuck. You know what I mean? Like just so many simple things that are just like, oh, it's because I have status. Like, oh, that's who
Yeah, man.
Dude,
know?
Like
skipping the line
when
of roller coasters is more utility than most NFTs in this space.
I'll be honest, the coolest I've ever found in my life was when I was like deep into my creative director career in LA, and I was just skipping every line at every club, not giving a fuck. Like that was peak cool for me. I'll never be that cool again, to be honest. But that shit was fire. and if a Bored Ape gives people that, I could see why the value is there. Well, used to give people that, you know.
Like, imagine if there's a game that's like really hot, like really, really hot, and you have an NFT that skips the queue and you get like games faster or something like that.
I'm gonna give you a better idea. What if there was a game that everyone told you that was amazing, and there were 1,000 NFTs, and that was the only way to play it? And once you were done playing it, you could then sell it to somebody. Like, this is like a basic Web3 in games mechanic. Like, Wouldn't that be fucking cool if everyone was talking about this amazing game and the ability to play it was the exclusivity? Not
But
skipping the line.
but
That
everyone
sounds like the
the
ring,
mental
bro.
capability.
everyone would cry though. They'd be like, you're not supposed to
people
NFT get your
crying,
game.
you're describing value. That's
I know.
exclusivity, is people crying.
If the game is really good, sure.
The game is
maybe.
really good.
But if it's really good, wouldn't people that made it want to make people play it? Like,
You have to be willing to make a little less money to make something cool. Period.
that seems like a.
That is
what's
1000% facts.
What's the name of the? Is it Peter
Fable.
Molyneux, the guy from Fable that made Fable? That sounds like something he would do.
Quote
If
that.
that guy
You know-
did that, he would succeed. He'd make a lot of money. Charge $10K, $50K for that NFT for 1,000 copies of your game. People will buy it. The fucking gamer flex status symbol it would be to say I've played this game, for a streamer to be able to stream it to their audience. Oh my god.
I mean,
Yep.
I know
No.
flex.
Hold up. Quote that shit because it's absolutely true. The cooler you want something to be, the more willing you have to be to leave money on the table.
And
the-
this is
because-
why you get fucked
I
up.
disagree. I actually
Hold on.
disagree.
Hold on, real
I
quick.
fully
The flex.
disagree with that statement.
Okay. All right, go.
Let's hit it.
Cotto, finish your statement
Yeah.
and then let's Console do his thing.
The gamer flex is owning a server of WoW that was like the few servers that had this game on it. That's the gamer flex that I've seen, or like boxes, right? I don't see this like digital thing that you're talking about where it's like. But go ahead, Console.
Yeah, I mean, let me just touch up on everything that has been discussed since I lost network. I think being led by a community is smooth, but just as Jordan was saying, you have to be a visionary leader and actually, in a space of innovation, dare to go where nobody knows. And that's why we respect men like Elon Musk. That's why Steve Jobs was somewhat brought up in this conversation. In fact, there's a quote by Henry Ford where he states, "If I asked the people what they wanted, they would have told me a faster horse." So it's upon you to actually be a visionary leader, to
Good quote.
somewhat portray that to the community and have their trust fully. I just want to touch on that. Secondly, speaking of the tokens that are pumping, everything related to Trump is going to the moon.
True that.
Which is just interesting to see. And also to just touch on the question you had asked, Mizzy Hodo, I think for meme coins, what they're gonna essentially do at some leg of their journey is create a game. We all saw that with NFT games, and maybe that's the merge, right? Not necessarily that they won't partner with games, but I see that coming down their pipelines, where they have the people, they've raised the capital. What next for their ecosystem, right? If not much, it's a game. We've seen that trend in this ecosystem. Now, let me touch on why I disagree on you leave money on the table to quote unquote be cool. Everything that is considered cool is pricey. That's just what it is. And this actually brings up an economic concept known as the Veblen goods, where typically what was observed in economics is that the lower the price, the more people want to jump into it. But he saw that there are certain items that keep on getting more expensive, like Gucci, like a Lambo, and people still want them. Why do they want them? Other than from that very status quo, because truly the car gets you from point A to B. And that's why I disagree that you have to be willing to leave money on the table. I think the problem Yuga did is essentially their entry price was just too high. If you want to play the game, you have to own a board ape. For you to own a board ape, you need how much, right? And that's not necessarily the client base for the gamer. If I was part of their team, which I'm not, don't hope to be, unless the check is fat, but we'll see. I would essentially have other products which have entry level prices to keep people coming into their ecosystem, and also just have that visionary leader, because it reached a point where the community was very public with their dislike of an event in Hong Kong, which blinded everybody over the march and so on and so forth. They just didn't have that man who could drive them and who had that confidence. And that's why I believe they changed their team. But all in all, I believe in the concept of Veblen goods, that there are certain items which they increase in price and people still want to buy them. Fashion goods being one of them.
I would say that,
I think you were just agreeing with us, honestly.
yeah, I would say
Yeah.
that with fashion goods, you leave a
Yeah,
lot of money
love
on the
that.
table by being expensive, right?
And
But in the short term and in the long term, because I've actually been in the psychological side of this business, right? So, like with fashion goods, what we would do is we'd put together an ensemble of pieces, and we'd make sure that people that were considered high value people got certain items from the collection to flex. Some of them would buy them themselves. Some of them would just wear them to events. And then we would put that item inside of a store. And let's say the jacket was $20,000. Across the way in the store, we purposely put $400 shades, which is the entry level prices that you're talking about, right? Then we have the retail employee at the venue treat the customers like shit. Why? Because then the customer wants to prove that they can afford this shit, so they run and buy the $400 pairs of shades in the corner, and that is how you print in the high fashion industry, right?
right, like why does Chanel sell lipstick and perfume, right?
Yeah,
All these high fashion companies, which nobody understands this exact equation that we're talking about more than them, right? Luxury goods. They're doing that because you can't afford the bag or the shoes or something, but you can spend still way too much. You can spend $50 on a lipstick and put it on and you're wearing Chanel, or you can buy
yep,
the perfume and you're wearing Chanel, right? But what Chanel doesn't do is fuck with the exclusivity of that high-end stuff. And that's what Yuga did. If Yuga had left the Bored Apes as just this high exclusive collection, and then instead of trying to be like, okay, here's our thing at this price point, and this price point, and this price point, and this price, huge gulf, put out something down here and do a whole ecosystem thing down here. Like they didn't protect that exclusive value of the top.
yeah,
They
essentially.
they attached it to way too much nonsense.
So I think all in all, in many ways, we all agree, and in certain cases, we disagree. But when it comes to ultimately being cool, what the thing about Gucci and all these companies like Hermes is probably one of the more prestigious companies. They start off as equestrian saddle makers. That's what they started off as. They didn't even sell luxury goods. They sold horse saddles, right? They knew their market and then slowly expanded out of it. Everyone in Web3 wants everything all at once, right? And
Yeah.
in many ways, if I were to create like the equivalent of a saddle maker today in Web3, I would do that really well. And then I'd have the entire community and everyone in Web3 tell me, but why don't you make phone cases? Why do you make this? Why do you make that? And then I would do exactly what Yuga just did, which is dilute the shit out of my brand. And now the core equestrian customer no longer wants to buy my saddles because they see a dumbass going to a rave in Miami wearing the same kind of leather that they do at the at the horse ranch, so to speak. So the problem is when you're initially building something, you do leave a lot of money on the table because you get so much demand. Like when not to put us in the cool category, but for example, with Catalyst, we get a lot of fucking demand for a lot of shit, man. I can't fucking breathe half of the time without getting something like, you guys should do this. You guys should do this. No, we would love to see you do that. If I were to do that, we wouldn't even be Catalyst anymore, man. I don't even know what the fuck we would be, right? So we do leave a lot of money on the table. Like we didn't even start monetizing until earlier this year. And it was because we wanted to maintain the coolness. So you do leave a lot
But
of
let me
money on the
ask,
table. Yeah.
yeah, but let me ask you this, Mizzy. Would you
Yes.
say Gucci, for example, which procures the same material from China and
Yes.
just sticks their brand and they can sell it at a 300x markup, is leaving money on the table? Wouldn't you also say that you now have, due to the fact that the demand is almost endless, the pick of the top end? Would you say that's leaving money on the table? Because when we look at the world's richest man, I think that dude who owns Louis Vuitton is at like position number 3, right? And
Yeah.
all they really do is sell the same thing, but at a way higher price to a way different audience.
I would say that based on my knowledge in the industry, the money isn't spent on the product; it's spent on showcasing the product, right? Quick example, and I showed this to I did this to show my friend exactly what I meant about product, the way that product was perceived, product perception. I was at a club in LA. I was surrounded by a couple of cool people, hot girls, shit like that. I took a regular bomber jacket, slapped a logo on it, went to the club, had people take pictures, posted on Instagram. It was, mind you, this was a Rothko jacket, which you could buy at military surplus stores for about $32.99. Put it up on the site for $400. It sold out. Why? Because it was perceived to be luxurious based on where I was. And luxury business spends a lot of money creating that perception. It's more about where is the product being placed? How is the story being told? Like Gucci, for example, I'm gonna nerd out here, but Gucci is known for love, right? That's their entire branding. Like recently, they had a creative director known as Alessandro Michel, and Alessandro Michel was all about romanticism in the 70s. So they spent a lot of money creating these sets that portrayed the 70s luxury lifestyle. They would pay to have celebrities in the sets, taking the videos, shooting the scenes. Like if you go to their YouTube channel, they have like mini movies that are being made basically to portray and show this lifestyle that they want. So they spend all their money on that. They don't necessarily spend it on the product itself. And what Gucci does, and most luxury companies do, is they'll have like that $20,000 or that $50,000 jacket that I was talking about. They'll spend $19,000 making that $20,000 jacket because it has all that detailing. And then they go to China and get $500 shades made for $5. So they lose money on the jacket, make profit on the shades, lip glosses, all those things. So it's more or less they spend so much money creating the perception that if they didn't go to China for the lower products that they then charge $500 to $1,000 for, they would run out of money. So it's
Also,
all
like-
based on perception.
Like he was saying with the, they're buying the same materials from China as everybody else. A lot of these top fashion houses right now are like, my wife loves this shit. She's, in on the YouTubers talking about the quality, different stuff. All of these top brands right now are like diluting their brands because they're cheaping out on the quality and raising prices, and people notice. And they're not going to get away with it forever because there's always new upstarts. What they're basically doing is creating a place that a new brand can come in and say, our quality is what Chanel used to be. And they can price higher and they can start to eat away at it. The like leaving money on the table thing is like the question of like, if Gucci dropped the prices of their bags by 30%, would they make more money in the short term? Absolutely they would, because they'd sell way more of them. But over time, they'd make a lot less money because they've lost the thing that was driving the entire ecosystem.
Yeah. And also just looking at it from the other angle, we've tackled it from price. I think supply is also something we really look at. And that's what essentially in gaming we pump things off. Small window of only 15 game skins and things of that degree. That's also something that drives value, right, in our ecosystem.
Yeah, we got a lot of comments coming in, by the way.
Essentially, I would say in fashion, we follow what we've coined the Nego rule. And it was infamous for, I don't know if those of you who know streetwear know who Nego is. He's known as the creative director for the original Bape before he sold it, right? And what Nego used to do is when he started Bape, he used to host all these parties. And he would only supply the demand for 10% of the crowd. So if he knew he was going to have 250 people at this event where he would DJ, he would have everybody like bumping and grinding in his warehouse, he'd only bring 25 pieces. And that's how he met the supply. That's how he kept the supply and demand ratio. What Nego did was he created so much scarcity around the goods that unfortunately for him, it actually led to a huge counterfeit market, and he lost a lot of money that way. So maybe not as scarce as 10%, but I think somewhere between like 20 to 30% is like a nice place to be. You really need to know how many customers you're going to have and how little you want that supply to be so that you still have the FOMO, but you don't end up in a counterfeit situation, which is actually one of the initial drivers to me believing in blockchain so much, because we dealt with so much counterfeit over at Fashion. And that was also us leaving tons of money on the table as like a luxury brand, right? When you see that people are selling hundreds of millions of knockoff bags and shit. But in a weird way, it almost became like a marketing campaign for us, because now all these people are running around with the bootleg version on the street, and it's like great marketing. So it was really interesting, like all the different psychology that plays into like scarcity models and things like that. But as Hado mentioned, I want to go to the comments real quick.
Yeah, Biz just threw up a great comment. I want to know your thoughts on it.
Yeah, shady ship. I'm gonna get rich off of crypto. 68 Cadillac Fleetwood. That is sweet, bro. I myself am also really into like old cars. I actually just picked up an E46 BMW 325i. Bought that shit for dirt cheap. I would much rather buy like an old car and like soup it up rather than buy a Lambo. So I'm right there with you.
That mobster comment at the end was funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mobster driving off in that car. I mean, everybody wants to be a mobster, bro. Anyone that says they don't is lying. Had a buddy charge $200 a hoodie. This is from Biz. I had a buddy charge $200 a hoodie. I asked him why. It wasn't the money, but that's the value he believed it was worth. Launched his product and converted 0.0005%. Was able to sell 50 pieces at 200. How many would he have needed to sell to net 10K if it was to them at $50? And if he only sold one, that wouldn't be worth his time. And he's now on the hook for it. Now he's crushing it. That's exactly it, man. Like everyone, you can't even make the quality argument in many cases. It's all about how people perceive your brand. Like, where is the emotional attachment? Where do they see themselves in it, right? I would say in my place in fashion, I was really good at portraying rock star lifestyle, which is why I would go to like parties and events and go to, festivals and run around in VIP and jump off a stage or some shit. I wasn't the artist, right? But I needed to live the lifestyle that people wanted to see out of a rock star. So that was the product that I was selling. I was selling the rock star lifestyle to like the everyday person. I wasn't selling a hoodie. I was selling that. I was selling the fact that, yes, there were zebra stripes on certain shit and shit that rock stars like to wear. So the product and the quality mattered. But what mattered more was, do you feel like a rock star? Yes or no when you wear this shit? And that, for me, selling that type of stuff is really easy because you just have to be about it. And if you're not, the customer isn't going to convert. If you are, the customer will convert. And then you just find more people that fit within that ethos. And then you scale it up, So for me, it's all about selling that lifestyle. Like if you want a luxury company, you're in lifestyle imagery. You're not in product. You're in lifestyle imagery. Always.
He said Catalyst hoodie for 200. Let's go.
Hell yeah.
Let's go.
I promise you, if they sell a Catalyst hoodie, they're selling it for at least 200.
They're selling it for crypto. No
all I'm saying is it will be a very, very interesting buying process. And
it's got right, because why wouldn't
it will be a very, very unique experience when we do release merch. It won't be something that you can even just buy, because I believe in ultimate exclusivity.
Let's bring this back to all the way full circle to Yuga and Web3 and apply this whole conversation. Because why did Yuga do this? Right? The answer is greed. The answer is like the fundamental flaw that it's like Web3 gaming almost popped into existence to try to address this, which is if you sell, what was the original price that Yuga sold the Bored Apes at? Does anyone know?
0.08 ETH.
Right.
Oh.
The initial.
So what that means is, other than the inventory that they held on to, those things went up to hundreds of ETH, and Yuga didn't make a cent off of it. Right? I mean, I guess there's royalties, right? But royalties aren't a real business model, as everyone who tried to do it found out. It doesn't work for you to make a fraction of a piece of these sales. And so Yuga, instead of being like, cool, we made this dope thing, we're like a few people, let's just chill and with our money, they were like, no, we got to be an entire business empire. And they raised a ton of money, which means they need to make a bunch of products, when the only product that they had actually established that they were good at was exclusivity. So it was just like a boondoggle from the start. Maybe one day they're going to recover, but it is like a core problem with NFTs, right? That like you don't make the money from the success as the person who launched it from the success of the product if it succeeds the way you're hoping to.
No, essentially right now that's the problem with it. Like you make the money on the mint, and then you make the more money on another mint. You don't make more money by driving value to the product endlessly.
Right, and you want to price the mint low enough. Like the definition of a successful NFT mint, there's two definitions. One is you sell out, right, your supply. But then two is that the initial holders of it that buy it number goes up, right? And they can make money, but you don't get a piece of that. So in order to have a successful mint, you're trying to find the exact price where you still make some money, but you can still sell them, and it's low enough in price that all the people who buy it from you, that like it needs to be worth more than you sell it for, or you will fail, right? Like that's a fundamental like catch-22 fallacy in NFT sales, is you have to sell them under the fair value, or they aren't perceived as a success, which is like really, really interesting when you say it in those very simple terms. This is why I'm going to only be doing auction style sales for Eureka, because I don't want to set a fucking price. I want the market to tell me the price. The market is never wrong. Like it's perfect, right? So, you know, I was really kind of constantly surprised at how few auctions we see. Like this Project Planet X, which is like one of the only pricier gaming NFTs I've ever bought. I was actually floating in this pool last summer, listening to a Twitter space with their founder, and thought he was a smart dude and jumped on board. But they sold these like first 1,000 Xtroid at an auction, and it was great. I think they made more money than they were expecting to, which wouldn't have been possible if they just set a price. And I'm just surprised we don't see more auctions, basically.
I would agree with the auction take, and it was actually my initial thought when I joined NFTs, because I joined NFTs primarily through the art auction space, right? Back when it's
Rareable,
and the other one that everyone super rare. There we go, super rare.
Yeah.
We would all do like super rare auctions and stuff. To me, that made so much more sense because, for example, we've seen blunders of people trying to predict secondary markets and their pricing. Like I saw it with Porsche. You know, everyone loves to shit on Porsche for having a shitty NFT collection, but they follow traditional luxury rules. And traditional luxury rules tell you, look at the value of the market based on a secondary market at times. Like if your vintage shoes are selling for $2,000, even though you retailed them for $500, your next shoes should be priced at least $1,800. So Porsche, what they did was they looked at how are secondary markets doing right now? How do we match the value of what we're seeing happen in the secondary market? So they priced it almost at 1 ETH because they're like, most of these mints mint out and then they're at least 1 ETH floor. So why the fuck are we going to leave money on the table when these bozos can buy it from us at what they're going to sell it for? And that's not in tune with our culture here, which is why so many Web2 companies that are in like more rare product kind of spheres have had issues joining our market because the traditional like luxury pricing model does not work here, which to me, the only thing left is auctions. So yeah, auctions to me are much more valuable than people think.
I mean, I think auctions are great, but we still haven't figured out how to continue to. You can still make money by selling people NFTs like every season. Like that's what Fortnite does. That's what a lot of games do, right? It's definitely a thing. I think to your point of like how to kickstart something like that, if you're just going to sell one product, like auctions, you know, have been the best way. And we've seen a couple of different ways to do auctions before already, but things haven't really changed. Jordan's going to change that, right, Jordan?
Yo, don't talk me up before I've done it. I'd rather people expect nothing and then be surprised.
Good point.
But I would get those gold nuggets. Yo, I gotta bounce, everybody.
We'll end it here.
I don't need to end. You know, I'm just gotta.
Anybody else have any thoughts on Q4 predictions, token rebounds? For joining us, you're always great to have you.
Printer Gober.
One project we didn't talk about that we should have was Pirate Nation. I think with them it was as simple as fucking guy.
Oh, you-
I think he cut himself off there with that dive.
He did.
Is his phone waterproof?
I hope so.
Bullish.
Oh shit!
We need more founders like that.
I think with them it was as simple as having token sinks after the fucking mint, dude. Like, you know, oh, he's back. He's back. Oh, he left. Never mind. I think with them it was as simple as having token sinks after the launch.
Yeah.
And yes, we can theorize and all that shit. Sure, there's an airdrop campaign going on, but many games have had airdrop campaigns going on. They just had sinks, man. So, look into sinks, people.
I think yes, sinks, but their game has been live for like 2 years, right? Like that says a lot. Same thing with the Beacon, right? Like the Beacon's game's been live for 2 years, and they were able to sell out. I did show the Pirate Nations chart earlier. I don't know if you saw that, but like, they're probably one of the ones that are doing it right, but like they're doing it in multiple angles. Like they have multiple narratives going for them, which is great. We're gonna see if they can succeed. All I know is that Pirate Nations as a game is not necessarily the end product for them, but it's a really great start. So looking forward.
Yeah, and then there is such a big pool of things that people expect from them too, for sure.
A lot, right?
Yeah.
They have like this whole like like a whole bunch of, what is it called? Like the blockchains that run in that's parallel for different things. So like their treasuries on one blockchain, like their like payment structures on another chain. Like I think the Apex chain is what they're calling it.
It's doing that thing where the comments are at the top.
I just noticed that as well. Yeah. We've been missing our boy Ramen, and Peace Console, he had to dip as well.
Yeah.
For sure. He said, how about Ember Sword?
Oh yeah, I just saw that on my timeline. It supposedly sucks. That's sad to hear.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why these games need to. Could a game do the auction route? Like in theory, could a game like develop and like do a token launch or some kind of NFT launch around like an auction route instead of like having a fixed price? Because then maybe people will be more honest with their money. Because a lot of these games, like people say they're great games and stuff, but they're only great games because they're making you money at the end of the day. They're not great games because people are running to download it and play it and stream it and make content or whatever. That's not why they're good games.
Yeah.
Unless the content is, I just made $100,000 off of pixels or something, like a Mr. Beast type video.
Yeah, and Human said Ember Sword is basura. I always hold off on judgment until I play the game. I will say from what I saw, it definitely looked very inspired by Albion Online. Didn't look that great, but yeah, I don't think Ember Sword has traditionally marketed the way most Web3 games market either. They kind of just like been doing their own thing. Like no one was even aware of their TGE before it happened. And also shout out to Ramen E36 M3. Those are gorgeous. I fucking love the E36s. Those things are amazing. We need more cards with, cool. We need more games with like collectible cool cards because that shit would bang on the blockchain personally.
For sure. Well, I do want to like offer like a closing thought before we wrap. I really challenge these games that are building Web3 to create passion projects and make quality products that bring value rather than just creating value with a shitty product. Because I think a lot of the games out there, they're overhyped. They're over not invested. What's the word? Like they're receiving a lot of funding and they're not really using that funding properly to make a better product. They're just more so using that money just to either live a lavish lifestyle or promote their product more. And I think we've already talked about it on this podcast, this show, that a lot of these games aren't prioritizing the gameplay or like the gameplay loops or making sure like the game is fine-tuned or whatever. It's more so like we have a working product to some degree. Let's just ramp up the marketing and we'll get all these users to mint or whatever. Like I want games to like go back to like passion projects when entering Web3. Like, just consider that, and maybe that'll make you more money in the long run versus like making a quick mill in the short term.
Auto just started the bull market. Let's fucking go.
Closing thought from Biz. He personally did not have the highest conviction for the Beacon mint out. Learned the TGE had no backers involved. Their backers took equity, so pure community play. Those holders saw it as a massive win. Yeah, I mean, I was, you know, we need to clip that because I was like, that shit's gonna mint out. The community was there, for sure. And Grasslow, I think teams that get hype spend to keep the hype, but when it's gone, they have nothing of substance. For sure. I would say one thing in this conversation that I've learned is that it made me. I haven't thought through the luxury lens in quite some time, and this conversation really forced me to think that way again. I think sometimes games themselves are the product as well, and the product doesn't always have to be amazing. The perception around the product, the perception of value, though, has to be there, and the way you do that is by aligning incentives, right? Like when I was selling Rockstar merch, it's because dudes wanted to feel like rock stars and they wanted to get laid, and women wanted to be sexy and they wanted to have simps, right? So that was like the lifestyle that I sold. When you're a developing game, almost keeping that in mind, I think could help, at least on the perception and the speculative side of things. You still, at the end of the day, need to have a product. You need to deliver. But I think the mediums in which you can deliver that are varying. They don't always have to be a sweaty, like, Unreal Engine game. It could always be a unique experience that makes people feel special in a certain way. Yeah. So that's my closing thought.
So I think the thing that I'll close out on is, like, I think Q4 is going to be a big quarter for, like, innovative ways of using blockchain in gaming without it necessarily being tied to gaming. I've heard a couple of people starting to say, like, hey, what if we do like a node sale where like the nodes host the game data so that like the people who are the node holders are actually the publishers. And so now every time that they tell someone something, they get money for hosting the data because they're essentially running the game. And so I think like these are the things that will start to arise, and which I'm really excited about. And hopefully like people like Pirate Nations launches their chain. They said it's going to come out in about a month. So if we see games that are fully on chain scale, when I've gone to conferences and I meet a normie, fully on chain games are the things that make the most amount of sense for them, because they know that no matter what, the game's still going to be there. The publisher can leave, the game developer can leave, the assets will always be there. And for some reason, that makes more sense for them. And so I'm really excited about Pirate Nations and seeing what they do. Yeah, I'll hand it over to Sir for any final thoughts. Sir, I don't think we heard you talk for like 5 words.
Just being quiet on the wall here listening. Yeah, my closing thoughts, I guess, would be towards the conversation, like towards like the luxury. And I think it'd be really interesting, you know, if we did come back to that early 2021 vibe of like creating like a limited game like experience. I think in a few years, like if we have success within like Web3 gaming, or even like a traditional like Web2 game were to do something like that, I really think it could work, like in essence, and it'd be really interesting to see a really successful game like become successful just for the fact that it's just rare and like hard to get in, and it's something I haven't thought about, in some years, but in this conversation, I think it could happen. It does make sense.
Yep, agreed. I think Mizzy really like dropped some bombs there, some golden nuggets. So shout out to Mizzy. Shout out to everybody listening. We had 116 views here and a whole bunch of comments. So like really love the community here. B.I.G. We're going to have to start bringing in more gamers to talk more about it. I think like sometimes the conversation skews towards gamers and gamer related conversations, because like that's what makes the business of games ultimately succeed, is like people are playing your game. I had a chat with Inhuman last week about that specifically, and it's been cool to see like how other people think about it. Obviously, Mizzy, Hato, Sir, like you are all inside of what that is and playing those games. So I'm excited to see more content there. I want to see more mobile casual games personally.
Yeah, definitely need more perspectives for sure. I think that's very important moving forward.
I think added perspectives is great. I've actually been opening my mind to Telegram games, man. And I'm actually seeing where they could come into play for certain ecosystems. Also, ChatGPT games seem really cool to me because, believe it or not, ChatGPT games is a thing. There's maybe like 10 games on it.
Wait,
So
where do you find those? Like, are they hosted on the website or people? Just
yeah,
send
they're in
you-
the App Store. Yeah, if you type in games, there's like a few of them that pop up, and they're like text-based games. So I've been paying attention to all that because I think we're gonna have a future meta in that in like 6 months or something.
Yeah, that's a good point. Send over some.
Yep.
Let's talk about it next week, Mizzy.
Yeah, sounds good.
Dope.
All right,
All right.
later, guys.
Later, y'all. Thanks for joining.
Oh, I was not prepared.